Hi, everyone. This is David Rothfeder, starting session 1 of Sex, Drugs, and Divinity. This is a hack of Monster Hearts to include elements from Wicked and Divine. And we're going to be playing this game based in the 90s with all the fun musical things that are happening. Terrible rock, college rock, pop idols, rap on the rap, just everything all over the place, and horrible fashion decisions. If you want any examples, just Google pictures of Vanilla Ice in the 90s and you'll get the idea. By the way, I love that picture of Vanilla Ice. It's so terrible. Attributing the elements of this game to where they belong. Monster Hearts is a game by Avery Elder. Fantastic game about teenagers who are monsters. In addition to being teenagers who are monsters, they are also literal monsters like werewolves and vampires. Yes, that's a dig on teens being terrible. We all know it's true, and we still love teens. Wicked and Divine is a comic by Kieran, blanking on last name. Gillen. Kieran Gillen. It is about young people who basically ascend to godhood. And these are classic gods, so the incarnation of Amaterasu or Baal. These are actual characters in the comic. And they go around performing and are rich. Well, they seem pretty rich, but they're famous and powerful, and dealing with the consequences of being famous and powerful, except they're going to be dead in 2 years. If they're lucky. Yeah, that's not always the case. One of the Gauntlet members, Patrick Knowles, has been working on hacking these two very different things that aren't so different together into a single game. And I'm picking up and what he's been working on and twisting it around for my own evil pleasure, because I'm an MC and that's what MCs do. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating, tonight we're going to focus on creating our setting and creating our characters. So let's just do quick 10-second introductions of who's playing tonight. So that way the audience can assign a name to everyone's face. And then we'll kind of dive into what people are thinking about for their characters. And let's go left to right from the character keeper.
That puts me up first again. Hi, I'm Sean McCarthy, and I'm doing some punk rock stuff with my character.
Okay, Ferret.
I am Ferret, or Sawyer Rankin, and I am doing some gothicness with my character.
Okay, Joshua.
My name is Joshua, and I'm doing some kind of Japanese-inspired visual kei Harajuku craziness. Yes.
What? Crazy Japanese visual stuff? Yeah, that never shows up in the game. Next, we had one of our players did have to drop last minute. Lauren is going to be in future sessions, but we are going to talk about her character a little bit because she's to give us some permission to use who she's playing. When we get to elevator pitches, I'll kind of go over what we know so far about what Lauren's been thinking of playing. Which leaves us to, and I swear I'm going to say it right this time, Leandro. Yes?
Yes.
Yes!
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Leandro, and I'm basically playing a character who's all about that Britpop. Oh, God.
Nice. So The one thing I am going to do in a little bit is, rather than having you guys have to worry about resizing the pictures, I'm going to get you a really nice formula that you can just plug in the URL to your images. And if you put that in the picture cell, it will automatically size the picture to the cell. So that will make life a little bit easier. But let's go into, for players who are ready, and it sounds like most of us are ready, a quick elevator pitch for each of our characters. And, well, I'm going to need more time to get that link ready. So I was going to go reverse order, but that gives me less time. So let's go same order for, broad stroke elevator pitch, what you're thinking of. Left to right on the character keeper again.
So for my punk rock hardcore frontman, who is totally not Henry Rollins, it's Garfield Lawrence. This pantheon's incarnation of Lugh or Cahulin from Irish mythology, basically just bombastic, over the top. Is also deeply involved with like truth and dominance and things like that.
Awesome.
I am the pitch for Manabu Takada, who is the incarnation of Shub Nagurath. And he does a lot of gothic music since his wife died and left him with a child.
All right.
I am playing Akane Satsumoto. She is the incarnation of Inari, the Japanese god of prosperity and foxes and a bunch of other great things. And Inari, I believe, has come back because Japanese people aren't having enough children, and so she needs to inspire them to get their act together in that regard. And the best way to do that is to tie into their current love of this this musical trend that's being kind of a surge in Japan at the time.
In other words, everyone should dress up in awesome costumes and fuck.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. So Lauren has been thinking of playing Evelyn Daniels, who is the reincarnation of Lucifer. Real nice person. And she is basically pop idol who is loves the attention, hungers for the attention, loves to get people what they want, as long as, hey, it's all, it's me, aren't I awesome? Those are the little bits that I know. I'm sure when Lauren gets her next week, and over the next week, she'll be able to flesh it out more. I will be honest, I haven't had too much of a chance to talk to her. She's been busy, I've been busy, but I swear in the next week, we'll be on the same page for what's going on with the character. She did give us permission to for people to assign strings to her. I'm going to let her assign her own strings, but if you say, yep, I'm going to choose this option for my strings on Lauren's character, that's fair game at this point. Sound good? And I would assume, I don't recognize that picture, but it looks pretty Britney-esque. So, yeah, I'm guessing that's going to be the style of music. But oh no, she was telling me what who the musician was. I'm blanking on her name because I am
Marina and the Diamonds.
Marina and the Diamonds. And she did share a song that was super, super sad, and it was amazing. And oh man, I was so sad after listening to it. So amazing. So that leaves us with Leandro.
Yeah, so I'm playing Victoria Crocker. Her godly incarnation is the incarnation of Jupiter, the sky god, king of the gods of Roman mythology, because basically kind of like my conception for her is that as much like how Britpop was nostalgia for the swinging 60s and when British rock ruled the world, she's basically like a big fan of earlier pantheons. I'd say, if that's okay to establish that, because like my conception is that she's kind of like a big fan of like gods and whatnot. She's kind of created her own godly image, which once she actually got that incarnation, it turned out to be exactly what she wanted, and it's all good for her. So she's very much someone who's kind of like knows a lot of what gods were like back then, and she's filtered into her performance like, oh, this is what was popular and I'm making my own spin on it, and it's going to be loud and a lot of guitar overdubs. Like, if you think there's going to be a bit of silence in this music, no, there's going to be like a guitar lick there that shouldn't have been there, and it's going to be annoying and arrogant and horrific, and she's kind of she's an arrogant piece of work because she knows so much about gods
you have to be if you're the reincarnation of Jupiter.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, it looks like most people have filled out quite a bit of their stuff. Let's go the other direction. So Leandro, it looks like you have most of this filled out. What do you choose for the purviews for Jupiter?
Basically the major ones. Thunder, the sky, and the heavens. Basically, she's kind of like very flashy and domineering, and she's very much if I enter the room, all eyes are going to be on me, even though I'm probably just going to be wearing a parka and some sunglasses, because my main visual kind of like inspiration for this is basically Oasis, at their height. And if you watch any of them live, they don't bother dressing up, especially Liam Gallagher, who's just giant parka. That's all he's gonna wear, and he's gonna put his lips to the mouth, and it's gonna look terrible, and just looks like he doesn't give a fuck. But everyone's there to see him, and that's kind of like how Victoria's attitude is when she goes around. So that's
the act as well, because I see you chose a worship up on stage. So you basically just get up on stage, and everyone's eyes are and you're just stealing every last drop of attention. Is that what your performance is like?
Yeah, and it looks like I'm putting the least amount of effort into it, but everyone's eyes is going to be still on me because that's just how I do.
So it's basically, how do you feel if someone at one of your concerts, like, what do you do if someone at your concert like isn't paying attention to you? If they're like, you're in the middle of a song and you notice they're heading out to the bathroom or something like that.
I think, all right, at this point, it's more like if anyone's not paying attention, they don't matter, and it's like all the eyes on me, and what matters is that I've had so many eyes on me. Like, I don't think it'll matter if like one or two people walk up to the bathroom. It doesn't matter if like if I put on a gig and the venue is only half full, and that's what matters. So, like, as long as it's a throbbing crowd of people, that's what I care about.
Awesome. So Joshua, tell us about the purviews for Inari.
Yeah, so I put down her purviews as fertility, of course, prosperity, which is kind of goes hand in hand with like wealth and doing well for yourself, kind of in a selfish way, but also in a more nationalistic way for Japan itself. Swordsmanship and foxes. You got to throw the foxes in there. Since I'm going with the Queen playbook, I'm imagining that her entourage might potentially be able to transition between like human and fox form at different times, or maybe that she just carries foxes around with her all the time and they're part of her performance. So that's more of a kind of like for the allure and to add more mystique to her character. So she definitely makes that a big part of it.
So is it that the other performers out on stage might be foxes that turn into people, or might be people turn into foxes, and it's just no one really knows which is the case.
I think that's definitely the case. At the very least, her 3 clique members are gonna be that. But so much is going on stage. You don't know if they're transforming, or if those were foxes there the whole time, or where'd the foxes come from, where those people come from. Who knows? There's too much going on.
So when you perform, is it are you like center stage, or is it like a choreographed? You're one big group, and like the performance is all of you, or is it really just you and your backup?
I think it's one of those things that starts out as a full like ensemble entourage, like kind of in a musical when everybody comes on stage at the beginning and does the opening number, and then it kind of peels away and ends up with the last half of the show is just Inari on stage by herself, rocking out.
Awesome. So let's then go to Mabu.
With Shub Nagurath, my purviews are fecundity, not fertility, but to have children just to have children. Madness, because Lovecraftian gods must be like that. And the earth and caves, because Shub Nagurath is the dark reflection of Gaia. And for my performance, I chose ayahuasca for the soul, which the way I sort of imagine, he goes out on stage and there is like the band is sort of in the shadows as he sings. And if you've ever played Shadow of the Colossus, just those tendrils begin spewing out of him and skewering the audience with their deepest desires and darkest thoughts that they can, trying to help them get over it, sort of like the hive mind of Dionysus in the comics.
Mm-hmm. Kind of sounds like a cross between Dionysus and Persephone.
Yeah.
For those who understand what that means. All right. And then we have Garfield.
So I'm basing him on, yes, an old Irish war god. His purviews are like dominance, exposing truce, including the bullshit of the pantheon. No tolerance for that. And dedication to craft.
Awesome. And you wrote for your act, it's Wade into the Pit. What is that like?
It's all about the live shows. So it started like playing warehouse type gigs. And even now the live shows feel a lot like that. There will be like a section at the concerts that is just a mosh pit. And 9 times out of 10, I will be in there halfway through the show. By the time I get back up to the stage, like my jeans might have survived, but like the black t-shirt may, if I wore it, was gone. And if it's a white t-shirt, it's got someone's blood on it. It's probably not mine.
So mosh pits can get pretty dangerous, but divine mosh pits sound pretty bad. Has anyone died at one of your concerts?
Probably.
Does someone usually die at your concerts?
No, not intentionally. I'll leave that for the people who decide that they're acting to look more like a sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm not saying that necessarily you're sacrificing people on stage. Is it just pretty common that people die there? No.
You get in the pit and you throw your elbows around and you kind of kick a little bit, but if someone gets down, you pick them back up.
Okay, so it's not. It doesn't become a huge, ball of unfettered rage.
No. There's joy.
Okay. Well, excellent. Does anyone have any questions about each other's broad stroke elevator pitches? This is what my gods, what my god is like. Okay. Well, now that we have kind of personal images kind of percolating in our minds of what they're like, and we can narrow it down as we go. Let's go ahead and figure out what the setting is like. So if we go to the setting pick list, so So I've broken down the setting into two big options. We can either be in a single city where everyone goes on a pilgrimage to you, or you can be on tour where you are traveling the world spreading your message. And the tour itself is kind of its own world. And when you get to a city, it's almost like inviting that city into your world temporarily, as much as it is you visiting the city itself. So people's thoughts on those two possibilities.
If I'm going with Manabu, I would prefer the people come to us. That's just my preference. And being in a single city.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards a single city, mainly because there are going to be players dropping in and out for the next couple of weeks. And it'll be kind of easier to have them all in the same place, especially if they're bringing in their own NPCs or whatnot. Be a bit weird, I guess, if we're traveling around. Although I can only justify it because people are dropping in and out, but like, if you want to just keep it all in one place, it might be easier for characters to jump in and out.
Yeah, so those types of concerns of, hey, how do we make this work in the fiction? Don't worry about it. That's something that I'll make work. I wouldn't have put it on the table if I didn't think I could do it, if I thought that was going to be difficult to do. But if the type of story you'd like to tell works better in a single city, that's absolutely what we should do. So yeah, I'd say go by what type of story you're most interested in.
As someone who might be dropping in and out, having it take place in one city will be easier for me to catch up on, and it will give everyone less work as to how to drag everyone along with them.
I don't have any strong preferences towards the tour bus, so I'm totally good with it being a single city.
Okay. So it sounds like we're a single city. Now, I gave a couple of examples of what a single city could look like. Are we thinking maybe like a large city or an old city, a college town, maybe the middle of nowhere? Or is this like not even a town? This is literally a music festival that's going to last for 2 years until you're all dead.
Like the worst Burning Man ever?
Yes. It does not end for 24 months.
Kind of like the mystique of it being like a once in a lifetime thing. Like not just our lives being once in a lifetime, but also this event is a once in a lifetime. But also like an old city appeals to me as well.
I really like the idea of the older city, like sort of like with the 90s, there was so much upheaval and shaking of things that I kind of like destabilizing the man.
Yeah, I'm down for whatever, but yeah, an old city sounds interesting, especially if no, I'm down. I'm just down for an old city, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll figure out which old city it is in a little bit. And it doesn't have to be a real life old city. We'll get into that later. So this city has a couple of things going for you in the Pantheon. And I've got a couple of options there, and plus we can write our own. So let's pick probably about two. If we only settle on one, or if we want three, that's fine. But about two should be good. What are some of the things that the city offers you? And the ones I have on my list are movie studios, historical architecture, natural beauty, the police in your pocket.
if we're going with the old city, I love the idea of having the run of it. Just like it's like I'm going to put on a performance in this old castle, but you're not supposed. But I'm going to. There's no question. I'm just going to do this.
Can we rig a stage in the Colosseum? Well, with enough money, yes.
Hey, a mosh pit broke out in the Coliseum, and and it got really unruly, and now there's a riot on your hands. But you're not going to get arrested because the police, you're chummy with the police. You just sign a couple of autographs for them, right? Okay, so we've got police in the pocket.
I thought it was run of the city, not police in the pocket.
It's written as police in the pocket.
But there were the ones on the other side.
Those are for the tour.
Oh, okay. So yeah, police in the pocket's fine. Sorry, my misunderstanding.
I guess if we want, oh sorry, go on, Sean.
Probably the same thing you're about to say. Historical architecture.
Yeah, if we want the Colosseum to have the run off.
I'm so sorry for all the postcards we're going to ruin.
By the way, did I spell architecture wrong there? I have a feeling I spelled architecture.
Yeah,
wrong.
that's it. ARCHI.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're only here for 2 years.
Architecture and police in the pocket. Nice. Again, same thing. It's separated out, so we're looking at the ones in the second column. The Pantheon also has a communal gathering spot, so we're going to choose one of those options. Of course, if we need to replace one with our own, that's fine as well. But I kind of have 4 pre-written options there. So we can either be a hidden location outside the city, so like outside of downtown would be more of on the outskirts rather than like really far away. In a public space, so that might be like maybe you actually do gather in the Coliseum. It's visible in the city but closed to the public, so maybe you have your own like giant skyscraper that everyone recognizes, or a place that's a public nuisance. Maybe you dropped your gathering spot in the middle of Main Street, and everyone just has to fuck off.
I'll throw in a vote for visibly in the city but close to the public.
That's what I was going to do because I don't feel like being fair to these people. We get the run of it, they don't.
But not just a caravan of trailers taking over their whole downtown. We at least have like a building or something like that.
You're not in the way, but you don't have to share.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think your Pantheon building looks like? Is it modern architecture? Is it equally historic? Is it the wrong type of historic? Maybe you're in London, but out of nowhere, a giant pagoda, has been constructed. Is it like, if it's modern architecture, is it like super weird, experimental stuff?
I feel like it should be some kind of very like traditional place that we've just completely modified to make it more 90s, much more modern, or all the kind of like very low tech to us now, but super high tech to them, like stuff just cobbled onto this very beautiful, like traditional thing.
That gives me a horrible idea of a day glow like Kyoto Castle.
Oh, I love that. Big glow. I'm seeing if I can find an image. No, it only does regular Japanese castles, not Dayglow versions.
Is that Nijo Castle? I'm just trying to get a sense for myself.
Oh, I was just seeing if I could find a Google image of something crazy that looks like it's a Japanese castle, but all in neon. So you're thinking like something that like started as a historical building, but has been like literally had the modern tacked right onto it. I think I found a good example. Ooh, someone else helped find something. Okay. Yeah, that is definitely looking like the Chinese, the old Chinese style, except in neon.
I like that glass monstrosity bolted onto the side of it somewhere. So like old cypress wood and like sliding panel doors, and then this Louvre pyramid thing jutting out the side somewhere.
All right. So that gives us a general idea of what the city is like, and we'll come back and figure out the exact city. But let's talk about the resurgence or the recurrence. So the first one is when was the first recurrence? How long ago? How long has the cycle been going? This could be the very first recurrence, or we can choose an option where maybe you're not the first Pantheon, but the first Pantheon was super recent. After that, I broke it down by decades. To the point through the 50s. Once you hit the 50s, it's I did no one really remembers. Of course, if we want to rewrite one and say, yep, it started in the 20s, that's fine. I kind of did it based off of actually, no, the 20s is an option. I was kind of basing it off of major musical shifts in genre. And then, the older ones are more about big changes in musical technology.
I'm thinking like with I think Leandro's playing Jupiter, and they wanted to have been known of the recurrence before. And the thing came to mind because the comics with the 90-year span, like the 1900s, a vaudeville pantheon.
Ooh. Now, in this version of the game, we don't have to do the 90-year rule.
No.
You'll see that's the next session or section. But vaudeville being the first recurrence does sound pretty interesting.
That lands really well with your first radio broadcast, just barely pre-World War I, or just after World War I, right?
Let's see. The first radio broadcasts, I did look it up when I was making this, were I'm sorry, the first like consumer style radio broadcasts were in the 20s. So I think that's a little after vaudeville.
Vaudeville died out in the 30s pretty much, but I mean, it's the radio killed vaudeville.
Yeah. That and the talking picture.
That would make sense. If the Pantheon is a paradigm shift, that would be a great place for it to have landed.
Oh, so like the death of vaudeville was when the Pantheon came. Was that what you were thinking?
That was, the idea that I had there, that they are either marking the end of one era and the beginning of another, or they're part of one specifically. I really liked his idea of it being a real distinct musical time.
Okay. So I'm going to call that the 1920s, and really we'll just know that's like a little bit earlier than that, like late teens, early 20s. Sound good? Okay. So the next question is, what triggers the next pantheon? So is it that the pantheons never die? It's just whenever one god falls, another rises in its place. Is it as soon as one pantheon completely is cleared out, another one comes to take its place? Is it a year and a day from the last time from the death of the last member of the last pantheon? When the old pantheon is forgotten. Now, I don't mean like literally forgotten. I mean like when it's no longer holding the hearts of the people. Is it a lifetime away? Which, judge a lifetime however you will. Are we doing the Kieran Gillian rule of every 90 years? Or is it something unpredictable? I also left a spot for if we want to write our own.
The timing pretty much works for when the last person who actually remembers the old pantheon dies.
Oh, so like literally when no one has been like
first-hand memory.
Who has seen the pantheon live, that's when the new pantheon comes.
Yeah, I like the idea where it's sort of like the last Titanic survivors, that kind of thing. Like once the final documentary is done, the new pantheon arises.
You know what it is? It's the Coco rule.
What's the Coco rule?
Have you seen Coco?
No. So that would do it.
Very good animated movie, but essentially there's a well, I mean it's not exactly it, but it's if no one remembers your story, then you depart from the afterlife. And someone who's dead, and the only way your story can get passed on is through someone who actually knew you in life sharing your story with someone else, and then them sharing that story, and so on and so forth. Except we're cutting out the sharing story, allowing to keep the pantheon alive. So,
right, okay. Like I've heard, like you have 3 deaths. Like the first time is when your body stops being alive, and the next is when the last person who remembers you dies, and the last one is when your story is finally forgotten.
Yeah. So we're doing like second death triggers the resurgence. Everyone feeling good about that? All right. That's awesome. And last living. Nobody is left who saw previous pantheon alive. All right. And yes, we have a Josh again. So Josh, just want to make sure you're on board with this. So we landed on the resurgence happens when the old pantheon is forgotten. Literally when the last person who's seen someone from the pantheon perform has passed away. That's when the next resurgence starts.
So it's entirely possible that we're the first one since the first one.
Yeah, if in fact it's damn right likely that you're the second resurgence.
Okay. Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. I like them being farther apart.
Awesome. So next we're going to talk about some of the tone things. Now, this being Monster Hearts, there are some things that are extremely common that are going to be in the game. If you are not okay with these things, it's not a judgment of you of the player. It's just this is probably not the game for you. So the game kind of has hard baked into it sexuality and infatuation. That's a big one. Cruelty and bullying. There's definitely moves where you are not good to other people. Violence and fear, and confusion and mystery. Just is everyone okay playing in a game where those are extremely likely to come up? The next is we have a list of things that could potentially be touchy subjects for people. Now, they are also very interesting subjects to explore as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start and give everyone an opportunity to cross out any of these that they do not feel comfortable playing. Now, if you are comfortable with playing some aspects of it, but not another, then just edit what it says, and we'll say to be what you're comfortable with, and we'll assume that the rest of it is not okay. So going through the list, alcohol and drug abuse. I may have hinted that that's it might be a theme of the game, but toxic fandom, social media fame. This is the 90s, but that might just look different in the 90s. I'm going to leave that there. That's a holdover from Patrick's version of the game, which happens nowadays where social media is a lot bigger. All power, no responsibility. The good we can leave behind. Self-harm, racial inequality and racism. Sexualization, wrong attraction, sexual shame. Violence from adults. Sexual violence / coercion / etc. Mental illness and depression. Exploring / discovering gender. Impeding morality. Separation and connection through technology. Definitely is becoming a bigger thing in the 90s. The evil we leave in our wake. Suicidal thoughts or actions. Gender inequality and sexism. Toxic / violent relationships. Romantic / sexual relationships between adults and teens. Plus, if there's anything that we missed that you are explicitly not comfortable with, add it on the list under Write Your Own and do the strike through. And I think it doesn't matter if that's true, Ferret. The National Enquirer will be printing that story. National Enquirer, is Shubs dating Luggle?
It'd be Lou, but
it's Lou?
Yeah.
I was not sure how to pronounce that.
I'm just adding that if someone does have a young child in here, that none of the violence is directed actively towards them.
Okay.
And crossing that one out, is it? Okay.
Yep. So you just do the up on the top, one of next to italic is strike through. So you just highlight the cell and hit strike through. I am going to strike through sexual violence. Oh, and the other one that I was going to strike through has someone beat me to it. So thank you. I do not like to. I am very touchy about seeing romantic or sexual relationships between adults and teens in games. There are times where I've seen it done well, but other times not. And some people have beat me to the next part. Once we know the things that we definitely don't want to do, we're going to start marking the things that we're specifically interested in exploring. Before we get too far into it, is there anything else someone would like to strike through? And you can, by the way, you don't, if you want to talk about why you struck something through, that's fine, but you don't have to by any means. Okay. You guys have marked a lot of things that you do want to see. Let's start talking about them, and if more marks get put down along the way, that's fine. So someone marked alcohol and drug abuse. Who wants to talk about what's interesting about alcohol and drug abuse? Wow, I feel terrible saying that.
Think for many of our characters, or at least our peripheral characters, it is probably a very realistic thing, especially for people who are surrounded by like power that they can't even aspire to. Also, the whole music scene, every music scene, it's very prevalent throughout that.
That is absolutely true. I will say the 90s did get better than some other decades with that. There weren't nearly as many musician drug overdoses. That's not that they didn't happen. It just, wasn't the 70s or 80s. Well, next we have mental illness and depression. Did someone want to talk about that? Doesn't sound really. Now, if it's not something that we're like specifically interested in exploring, maybe we should uncheck that, especially because that is one that can be a little bit difficult for players coming into the game. They may not feel as comfortable. So unless there was something specifically we wanted to explore with that, are we okay with unchecking that one? And if it gets checked later, that's perfectly all right. It's not saying that it has to be off the table. It just doesn't sound like people are really like, yes, I'm excited about exploring that. Impending mortality.
With the idea of a young father, I really like the idea of just sort of taking in like the good and evil we leave in our wake as well. Just like, especially like as a man-made goddess kind of incarnation, like what kind of place will this world be after my songs stop playing, or when I stop singing them?
Awesome. So that also goes into the good and evil we leave behind then, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, definitely. How about all power, no responsibility?
Yeah, that was kind of my one. It was more like, I think, at least compared to all the other characters, mine one's going to be the least responsible. And I don't know, I kind of want to push the idea of like, because this pantheon is weirdly like concerned with other things other than having fun. What's up with that? That's really weird. So I kind of like to push the idea of like, there are just maybe some people in this pantheon who just want to have fun or just want to use that power for their own like enjoyment.
I mean, who's going to stop you, right?
Exactly.
And then we have self-harm. Now, this is also a pretty touchy one, but if it is something that we want to explore, let's talk about it, see what's interesting about it, and if people and if people aren't feeling sure, we can maybe set some bounds on that. So does anyone want to speak about self-harm?
For sure. When I checked it, it was with the idea in my head of how I'm already understanding Garfield and the way he's using his own life as a stolen car right now. Not in the deliberate scenes in like a bathroom or anything like that, but in the one where he's going to wade into the pit because that's how he understands to feel alive, especially with this weird additional purpose that's been kind of foisted on all of them. So I wanted to talk about it and see if it was okay to lean into that, and if not, then I don't mind backing off those.
Okay, so it's more of self-harm and putting self at in needless risk as opposed to like straight up, I'm going to hurt myself right now.
I guess, and it's less of those deliberate scenes for sure.
Okay. Are people feeling comfortable with that interpretation of self-harm coming up in the game? Okay, that sounds like a good space to be in then. Is there anything else that we're feeling should be on the list, should not be on the list? Okay, that's much better. So in that case, let's go ahead and just circle back to the city and talk about that. So we have a pretty good idea of what's going to be going on in the game and what we're like. Does anyone have thoughts about what the city is, or should we just have our own fictional city that this is taking place in?
I will like to pitch. It's not an ancestral city by any means, I would say, but like Nashville with the actual Parthenon and other kind of thing, like maybe a mirror darkly of Nashville, like the Music City. But just one.
Like,
oh, go ahead.
Are you thinking literally Nashville, or just a city like Nashville
Like,
where that is known for its music?
sort of just like Nashville, just probably like as like mirror darkly, like probably more things like the Parthenon, like maybe a Kyoto style castle with, or like a an Asia town, a more diversity, like, and architecture from that didn't get destroyed in any kind of war.
But it's still understood as the Music City of whatever timeline we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking like an American city, a European city, an Australian city, an Asian city, an African city? Are there any other general places I can pin this down?
I like Europe or Britain.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of like just a real world city, but kind of slightly off center. Yeah, exactly. It's fair to describe it. And definitely a real world city, mainly because easier to get our feet on the ground, and it'd be easier to think of like, okay, what's a landmark that we can like kind of distort our way, and it'll be a bit more impactful than just say, oh, we invented this tower, but it looks weird. But who's gonna care? It's already a tower that looks weird. But if it's like, I don't know,
Maybe Liverpool, birthplace of the Beatles.
Yeah, I was thinking about Liverpool. But the thing is, do any of us know many landmarks of Liverpool? Besides,
We the players, like quick Wikipedia search, make shit up. That's fine.
I do like the idea of it having like these spaces that Ferret was talking about. You know, different, more diverse spaces than would have been in Liverpool itself. So I'm cool with it being in Liverpool, but I like the idea of us tacking things onto that as well.
So alt history Liverpool.
Liverpool might have been the place where the first recurrence happened, or the first incarnations. So it's just much more cosmopolitan.
Like maybe the first resurgence brought in Liverpool brought in all these influences from other countries.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I added a note on that and the NPC and such locations. So at this point, why don't you guys work on finishing filling out your characters and do everything except the strings. While you guys feel free to talk amongst yourselves about it, and then we'll go over what you decide. While you're doing that, I'm gonna try to quick make some decisions on the ancient one because that needs to be the first NPC, and then we'll take a break and start. I'm sorry. Once we reintroduce our characters in more detail and how they came to be gods and come to Liverpool, and we'll talk about your spaces in Liverpool. We'll go ahead and make. After that we'll take our break and then we'll make some NPCs. Sound good? So what I'm gonna do is. I know it's not the best for recording, but let people be quiet. And then when you are ready to fully introduce your character, just go ahead and speak up. Sound good? Little hint. When you copy and paste moves into the character keeper, the trick to make it work easily is you click on the cell you want to paste it in, but then you go to the actual equation line, the one that says FX, and you actually, if you paste it into that line as opposed to directly into the cell, it pastes a lot better.
Do you have the actual playbook moves anywhere in here, or just type in as we get them, or copy and paste out of PDFs?
Copy and paste out of the PDFs.
Okay, I'm just doing summaries for now. I'll come back and get them later too.
Do you need the do you need copies of the PDFs? I know I sent out the folder before, but
I think I have a link for it, and I'm sitting here with the book in front of me too, and a printed copy of the playbook. So
okay, I'm just gonna go quick and get a copy of the folder and post in the chat. That way, it's easier for you to copy and paste off of the digital file.
And if you have them separate, I'm building off the werewolf chassis. Otherwise, the shared playbooks file is perfect.
Yeah, it is going to be the reference one. Why am I blanking on how to share this? Here we go.
It has locked me into view only for some reason.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, I'm not the only one.
Character keeper.
Yeah.
I apologize. This is on my end that things are going wonky. Yeah, I opened up a website that obviously does not agree with Hangouts. So, was it the character keeper that was acting weird? Can people hear me?
It's still on view only, I think. The character keeper.
Okay. I'm not sure how that got changed, but it should be fixed now. You may have to reload it.
Looking good here now. I have someone else for the Pantheon, and I feel so good/bad about including them.
Do tell.
Well, it's not Vanilla Ice, but it's someone who followed along in his wake about, oh, we know it as 1999, but that's when everyone first heard of Eminem.
So is do you have a god for him yet, or is he going to be a non-godly person?
I'm not sure about that. Well, we don't have a Dionysus in this one.
I was thinking I haven't really thought of like
Or Janus.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun for Eminem. I think the god I was leaning towards was Anansi. But I don't really have like a, what their purviews or like act or what they would look like or anything like that yet.
I was muted. That's why Josh didn't respond. Since you are done with the mechanical part, why don't you tell us more about the decisions you made for creating your character?
Okay. Well, the queen is a little bit straightforward. I only have to pick one move, but you do have to pick a type for your click. So the click move says you're at the head of the toughest, coolest, most powerful click around, and they count as a gang. I decided, since we were already talking about them being part of my act, that they would be talented as their strength, because they do perform with me every time, and I have names for them. Yukiko is I think actually my sister, and I've kind of dragged her along on this. And I probably, well, at least part of me, the Inari part probably doesn't care, but I think the Akane part really does care that she's wrapped up in all of this. And then Sebastian and Bruce, I've just kind of picked up along the way for their talent, and also because they're good at kind of representing me and helping defend me if it comes to that.
So, said Akane was one of them?
Akane is my character's name before.
Oh, okay. And then what was the other two? It was Bruce and...
Bruce, Sebastian, and Yukiko.
Yeah, I'm listing Yukiko separately because she is actually your sister.
Yeah.
And I'm calling them your foxes, but...
I'm totally cool with that. That's perfect.
If you have a different name, that's perfectly all right. But it sounds like it's Inari and her foxes.
Yes, I love it. That's perfect.
Although Ferret has
Ferret,
a really good
yeah.
suggestion of the Vixens.
Mm. That feels even more old school to me for some reason.
Feel free to change it. I just wanted to put down those names before we forgot them.
We'll mull over that, yeah.
Yeah, and they're already on the NPC tabs. I will let you choose whether they count as two of your if the three of them count as your hanger-on NPCs or not. If you want to introduce another one, that's fine. If you want to just flush those three out, that's also okay.
I had an idea for another non-god character, but now that Yukiko's my sister, maybe it'd be better if we just left it at that.
Your call. By the way, NPCs that you create, I'm not going to guarantee that they're going to be important in the game, but they help prime the pump so I don't just make a bunch of NPCs. It also makes it more likely for you guys to, have reasons to be like, oh, I care about that NPC.
Yeah, well, I'll just go ahead and throw it out there so we can use it if we want.
Well, we're going to do NPCs after the break.
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
Don't feel the need to do them now. I just wanted to throw that out there that you have the option of which direction you want to take with that.
Gotcha.
Is anyone else done with the mechanics of their character? Just want to go ahead and
I move wise. I'm playing the Leshy because that is the skin of nature. Move wise, I have Gaia's authority. I can commune with all animals and nature spirits. I hold court over them from a throne room in a natural environment. Inside my throne room, add 1 to all rolls against anyone who disrespects it or you. And I want my throne room to wherever we land, wherever our house is, to be like a garden that is also the nursery for my child.
Okay, so do you have like a home outside of town then, or?
No, I think it's inside the Pantheon's home. It's but my NPC will help with the child. The child is not going to be the NPC. I don't. It's the fatherhood. I want to deal with the fatherhood, not so much like the actual child. Bring it into the game.
Okay,
that makes sense.
So I'm more asking about your throne room.
I think it's just I saw one of the Wicked and Divine actual plays, and I sort of think it's just like he's made it may have been a garden inside the place, or and he's just sculpted it to be special to him.
Okay. Awesome.
My other 2 moves, the simple one is I am Lord, add +1 to volatile, max volatile 3. And the other one is Tree Tyrant. I may roll with volatile to animate a tree as a temporary gang for a scene. If I get a 7 to 9, something not so nice happens afterwards. But I kind of wanted to flavor this as like summoning Migos, Byakis, Shoggoths from the woods. I still need to be near vegetation, but calling upon those.
Yeah, and we can totally reflavor moves. So you, it sounds like you are calling effectively dark things from uncivilized places.
I'm calling in favors for my 1,000 young.
Awesome. Is Garfield pretty much done?
Yep, I'm all set with the numbers and the copy pastes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the choices that you made.
So I've built Garfield up from the werewolf, which doesn't necessarily mean sprouting hair, but it does mean going a little bit wild at times. I picked Howl at the Moon, so when I'm basked in moonlight, I can act as if I'm very dark. And Unstable, so if I'm ever triggered into my dark itself, I mark experience for that.
Awesome. Now, for Howl of the Moonlight, we can rewrite the move a bit if you want. Do you want it to be actual moonlight, or is there something else that you can bask in that makes you super dark?
I think it's the stage lights.
Okay, so when you bask in stage lights, so yeah, go ahead and rewrite Moonlight to stage lights.
Okay. And it's got to be at night. I'm not going to pull an afternoon festival appearance and trying to pretend that I'm actually in my element.
Yeah. I am going to say, though, that does not work for the perform because the perform is specifically a dark move. Because that sounds a little like, oh, of course you're going to have stage lights while performing, right?
That's true. I'll keep it as Moonlight then. So if I'm not on the stage, then it works that way.
Okay. Yeah, if you're doing Moonlight, then if you're doing a concert under the full moon, totally go super dark on that.
Okay.
I just didn't want it to be like, oh, just about every time I perform, I get +3 dark, because that, that doesn't feel as meaningful.
No, it's going to have to be the outdoor concert that we throw in the garden for that to really land.
Yeah. And then last, but absolutely not least, because you're the most important of them all, at least that's what you think, right, Jupiter?
Oh yeah, like, did any of these people have 2 million trying to get into their concert? No. Well, maybe, but I'm the only one who's gonna claim I did. Yeah, the skin I took for Jupiter is the dragon, which is also part of Ferret's trove of alternate skins. Basically, incredibly popular and knows it and wants it. Full force of personality that's kind of emphasized in the moves. Like the first move I get is Draconic Splendor. Until you're given a condition that makes you unfashionable or unpopular, main characters subtract 1 from rolls to harm to you, and side characters cannot harm you through reaction. So basically, because I'm just too damn good at this, you can't hurt me unless I'm not as cool as I think I am. Who knows? That could probably happen. And the other move I took is Resurgence. When a main character helps to rid you of a condition, you gain a string on them and they mark experience. So that's incentive to keep me popular, I guess, from other main characters. But yeah, Jupiter's kind of like at the stage that she is right now. She's very much on top of the world. Nothing can hurt me, or she thinks nothing can hurt her. She's very much like thinks she's climbed the mountain because she's been wanting this for a long time. She's kind of out. She saw what the other pantheon was. Well, not other pantheon, but like she kind of researched that and like, fuck yeah, I want that. That's her thing. If we're gonna keep going to the Oasis thing, this is post second album, right before Noel Gallagher gets pictured shaking hands with Tony Blair. That sort of era of Oasis where they're too big to fail, and then they're just gonna, and then they don't know failure yet, but it's gonna smack them in the face. The same thing with Jupiter right now.
Muted. I prefer my other headsets where my mute was just flipping up and down my microphone, but that's not really important. I've also gone ahead and copied and pasted for you, Leandro, so you have some more details about your moves. Makes life a bit easier. So let's go ahead and take a 6-7 minute break. So about 50-51 after the hour, we'll come back and work on some NPCs. I'll tell you some more about who our Ancient One is based off of, and I'll hopefully have more fleshed out that, hey, this was an actual vaudeville performer, and isn't that amazing? And now he's your Ancient One. But I'll need to give some more thought to what he's actually like. And you'll introduce a god and a non-god to our pantheon. Sound good? Awesome. See you in a bit. I'm sorry, Michigan J Frog is not going to be the ancient one. Yet. Look, weird things happen when the Pantheon collaborates. So, welcome back. So the Ancient One is a man that goes by Kronos, the old Greek god, who is famous for, eating his children and later being forced to expel them back up. He is a man who he has attempted to perform for all of you to no one's pleasure, which is basically he is very proud of his ability to eat anything and later expel it. He is also a man of Egyptian descent and wears generally pretty traditional clothing for an Egyptian individual. Does somebody have a god or mortal they want to add to the Pantheon?
I certainly do. I already had my mortal up, but in idea. This is the mother-in-law of Manabu. She is the only tie he has to his ex by technicality, but and he's also like the only connection she has to her daughter besides the child. But I like the idea that her name's Lauren McNamara, and she basically says she's staying around to take care of the kid, like to get to know the child, and will take care of him after Manabu's gone. And I'm really wanting her to deal with, like, I believe someone brought up like the drugs and the all power, no responsibility. Like, how is a hanger-on who's got such a direct connection to one of the gods going to act when she has pretty much unfettered access through him?
So you're thinking that she might have issues with drugs and alcohol when she should be taking care of your kid.
I think it's like she might have been not an alcoholic, like maybe an alcoholic, maybe a drug addict in the past, or like gotten over it, or just was a partier when she was a kid, and now all that stuff she used to party with right back in her face.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and make a section in the NPC tab. We'll just keep a list of it. I'll get it reorganized so that we have godly figures on top and mortal figures below that, but I'll worry about that later. But yeah, why don't you fill that out? And if you want to find a picture for her, awesome. Does somebody else have an idea for an NPC?
I think we need someone to act as our public face. So I think Summer Zare is our, like, not customer service rep, but like not manager, the PR face for the Pantheon. She'll be like a 50, 60-year-old woman with like perfect silver hair. It's short. She's got these blue eyes. And whenever they do like an interview with any of us inside the compound, basically, you know, she's the one who's talking to the reporter, and then like they cut over to us.
Okay. Now, does she work directly for one member of the Pantheon, or is this something that everyone has agreed to? Everyone has agreed to support.
I think when we commandeered the building, she was actually the front desk receptionist and just refused to leave despite us.
And she just kept making herself useful.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a pretty good relationship with her then?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Awesome. Go ahead, make a tab, find a picture for her, all that good stuff. When I say make a tab, I mean grab a row for her. Does someone else have? It seems like we're sticking with mortals first. So does anyone else have a mortal?
I've got one. I think Akane was being kind of groomed before the incarnation to be like a pop star, more traditionally, and her mentor was a famous Japanese singer from the previous generation. So he's like a kind of probably 50-year-old Japanese man, and he was in charge of kind of coaching her on singing and stuff like that, and stage presence. And now he is kind of stuck as a hanger-on, trying to relive his glory days, because he's now completely outshadowed by her and all the other Pantheon members. But going back home or trying to retire is even worse than kind of not being second rate.
Okay, do you have a good relationship with him or a bad relationship?
I think I have a good personal relationship with him, even though it's now strained by our, differences, by my success.
I'm sorry, so you do have a good relationship?
Yeah, I think so. I think
you guys are going to have such terrible relationships with the rest of the Pantheon then.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah, I think I have a good relationship with him. He might, resent me in some way, but I don't think I feel anything negative towards him.
Okay. And then Leandro, do you have an idea for a mortal NPC?
I have an idea. I think it's a former best friend. Not nail the details yet, but I think we shared kind of like a fandom or obsession with the Pantheon, and she was very much the one. Well, I was the analytical one. I was like, all right, this is why these gods did this, and this is why they look like that. This is why this Pantheon was like that. She was very much just there to enjoy being a fan, and I think I kind of, not to say cut her loose, but I kind of just like, once I became a god, I just kind of left her by the wayside. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of prominent in fandom, I guess. Okay. Or whatever you want to call this 90s equivalent of, well, I guess fandom still existed back then.
So are you from the Liverpool area then? So she's still local?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we're both from the north anyway.
So it sounds like you don't have a great relationship with
no. I need to find a name for her. But yeah, she's where I mean, I kind of tried to ignore her, but I think it's kind of known that we used to be together. We were big parts of the fandom, and I got my shot and she didn't. And it's not my problem. It's not my fault. That's her to deal with.
Yeah, but because when you say you got your shot, you really got your shot.
Yeah. Like, it just happens, and I don't know what was wrong with her that she didn't get her shot. That's not my problem.
Well, we'll see if she gets her shot.
We'll see.
Awesome. So, any ideas for the less human NPCs? I shouldn't say less human, let's just call them boring.
So someone mentioned Anansi earlier. I think Anansi is part of this one, but as totally not Dr. Dre.
Totally not Dr. Dre is Anansi.
Who is sharing stories with the world. It's perfect.
Now, I totally expect that the picture that you put up is totally not going to be an old school picture of Dr. Dre.
I'm going to try and find something, circa 1990.
Of course, you could always just grab a picture from the actor who played him in the movie, because that's not Dr. Dre, right?
That'll work. Does that work for everyone else?
Awesome.
Rommel.
By the way, as far as gods go, it's kind of up to them what they go by. Like, do they go by their god's name? Do they go by their name? Obviously, in the comic, they always go by their god's name. But that doesn't mean that it has to be the convention that this pantheon uses. So, do we have another god for the pantheon?
Yes, one that Manabu does not get along with at all just because of his distrust of her legend, Baal Haman.
Going straight out of the comic here.
Yes, I am. He does not trust her for obvious reasons, even though she has shown no signs of this that he knows of. But their relationship is very strained. And I'm going to be basing her off of Missy Elliott.
Awesome. Oh, by the way, going back a second to Anansi, you have Garfield has a bad relationship with Anansi. Why is that?
I did not think of that one. I think at one point they ended up, like, Nancy and his crew ended up jacking the venue that we were supposed to be using for a show. They basically just rolled in, outpaid whoever was renting it to us. And like, I got in a fight with his tour security guards and things like that.
Oh, so man, you're a god. You totally fucked them up.
Not then.
Did Anansi have to get involved?
This was before.
Oh, this was before both of you were insanely famous.
Yes, at some point after that, we met each other, and it's like, oh, fuck you.
Oh, wow. So now you two have a grudge, and way more power to fuel it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So Josh or Leandro?
Anansi was the one I was originally thinking of, and I'm trying to think of something else that fits that category.
Trickster god?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Storyteller?
The trickster.
Certainly Mercury.
Ooh, Mercury could be fun.
Yeah.
Since it ties in a little bit with Jupiter.
Let's see. A monkey. Oh god, monkey. Monkey would be awesome.
I was thinking about that too, yeah. It could just be monkey. I also thought because of Lauren, it could be really fun to have like Saint Michael or something like that. But maybe we don't want to go down that road. I don't know.
Also, feel free to draw not straight from mythology. Like, I've played Puck before.
There's also like Coyote, Iktomi, Raven.
Yeah, I forgot about Coyote. Coyote is a great storytelling and trickster.
I think Coyote makes a lot of sense, and we could totally have it be someone. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of a good like '90s country western singer.
Uh,
All of
Garth Brooks.
yeah, yeah. Actually, he's pretty stereotypically '90s.
Garth Brooks during his Chris Haynes phase.
I'm totally in for Coyote by way of Garth Brooks.
Oh, that is terrible.
It's so bad
I
good.
hate him already.
So does my character.
So why do you have a bad relationship with Garth Brooks? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, with Coyote. Other than the fact that he looks like Garth Brooks.
I think Coyote kind of stereotypically doesn't take me seriously, and that is exactly what I need everyone to do if I'm going to make any kind of impression. And so I just can't read Coyote at any point in time, like when I'm having conversations or interacting with them in Pantheon stuff, and I think they really just can get under my skin because of that.
I mean, does Coyote take anyone seriously?
No, and it's terrible.
All right. Well, let's put a positive spin on this. So Jupiter, which god do you have a good relationship with?
Am I the only one who has a good relationship with a god? Yeah. So that disqualifies my earlier idea, which was to basically make Blur, because I can't have a good relationship with Blur. So I'll bring in. Let's see. I think it's a goddess. Her name is Asteria, the Titan goddess of nocturnal oracles, falling stars. She's kind of dreamy, I guess. She's very much and the genre I'm representing is basically another British genre. It's trip hop. So Portishead is what I'm thinking of specifically. So she's basically Beth Gibbons. So she's very much she's kind of like the inverse of Jupiter. That's why I have a good relationship with her, in that she's also the no responsibility, all power, but she doesn't use it to like force people to acknowledge how great she is. She's just basically, yeah, a lot of things slide off her, and Jupiter finds that infuriating / hot. So I'll just say that straight out. This is Monster Hearts. so it's almost like she can, if everyone else tries to act like, oh, Jupiter, you're not the bee's knees, Jupiter's gonna be like, you're just lying to yourself. But Asteria's kind of like the one goddess she knows that doesn't care that Jupiter's the bee's knees. So that's annoying, but in a good way, I guess. That means Asteria's probably the only one who Jupiter thinks can be honest with her.
By the way, as a favor to me, if in the notes you can include the name of who the inspiration is for the god NPC, it would help me tremendously, because I don't necessarily know a ton about these performers. And of course, they're not going to be straight up these performers, but it'll give me an idea of what type of character you're interested in seeing in the game. And that's one of those things, we have permission to get things wrong because we're not playing real life people. All right, so our Pantheon has Anansi, Baal Haman, Coyote, and Asteria. Awesome. Well, I think it's time to get. Oh no! Actually, before we do that, we need to twist the knife a little bit. So there are 8 NPCs other than the Ancient One. I'm sorry, 10 NPCs well, kind of 11, but two of them, you can just call them the same person. And yes, the foxes are fair game. What I want you to do is to pick someone else's NPC, one of them, and come up with your own relationship with that NPC, and how it's very different than the other PCs, and include that in the comments of how you're different than them. But also, you talk about it so we can hear how they're different. Couldn't bring yourself to use an actual picture of Garth Brooks.
I think I knew from the moment she was spoken, but it's Yukiko from Inabu. I believe they have bonded over like the different, well, the similarities of being held to standards that like the Japanese society does of their children and their citizens. And, you know, Manabu is a god, but Yukiko didn't ask for this, really. And he didn't ask for this either. So they really bond over that and drinks.
Yeah. So Nari, how do you feel about your sister and, Fox, hanging out and getting chummy and looks like going on dates with this bizarre fake god from that was dreamed up by some racist guy in the 1920s?
I was already kind of leaning towards making your character ferret my string, which is someone I'm terrified of, because there's some overlap with the like nature aspect and the control over spirits and stuff like that, which could potentially overlap with like the fox thing. So I think this is just like, and maybe Yukiko is doing it on purpose to some degree. Like there is that relationship between your two, your character and Yukiko, that is a bond, but maybe it's also a little bit of a jab at her older sister that has all of this, power, I guess, and that's like the only way she can exact any kind of control over me or try to. But I don't think I'm a huge fan of it.
Awesome. So what's another connection people are seeing?
I think Garfield seeks out Asteria as like a really intimate but platonic connection, somewhere that he goes to like seek refuge when things, like when he realizes that he is too angry and he needs to come back. Does that make sense?
Okay. So you kind of go to Asteria for comfort?
Yeah, as like the talk me back from the edge person, and I think just for the quiet moments in his story.
So Jupiter, how do you feel about Mr. I just want to feel alive, like taking up the time of the only other fun person in the Pantheon?
She thinks it's seriously lame that he needs someone else to make him feel alive. Yeah, Jupiter's not a good person. Jesus Christ.
All right. So we still need a crossover from Jupiter and from Inari.
Can I say that Hattie is a big fan of me? because I just invite excess and kind of like I'm just here to like lift you all up. You're all seeing this performance that I'm doing, and it's lifting up your lives. And because I very much invite, just let go of excesses and whatnot. And can I say that Hattie was probably a big fan of that?
I really like that, and I think what drives Screws deeper into Manabu is she is always comparing Jupiter to him. It's like your performances are so goth and maudlin. Why don't you? It's like you've already been through so much pain. Live a little or live a lot.
I love that.
Awesome. And then one from Inari.
I'm leaning towards Andre. And I think that it has a lot to do with the kind of more kind of poetic storyteller wisdom aspect. Like Andre is one of the only people that Inari feels like she can have real conversations with, which is exactly the opposite of what she gets with Coyote, So it's kind of like a nice juxtaposition there. And so she enjoys kind of pulling him to the side, and maybe they even write music together or something like that.
Sounds like you kind of keep it real together.
Yeah.
Such a 90s thing to say. Oh, God. So we've got J-pop hardcore rap collaboration going on. Oh, wow. That is totally something I could see in the 90s. It also hurts my brain. All right. Well, then let's start putting the screws to each other with some strings. And remember, Lauren's character is also fair play to choose for some strings. So let's go. And since we are doing this on the character keeper, I can actually do a real order. Yay! Let's go. And let's do left to right. So Garfield, what does it say on your playbook for strings?
Because I lack subtlety, I give a string to everyone. Is that everyone, or the player character is everyone?
So I always interpret it that unless it specifically names a NPC, everyone means NPC. Now, if a new PC comes in, you do give a string to them.
Okay. The other backstory pieces, I've spent weeks watching someone from a distance. Their scent and mannerisms are unmistakable to me now. Gain 2 strings on them. The wording there is so odd. It's definitely Jupiter, though.
You've been stalking Jupiter.
Not stalking. Observing.
So you are a wolf, and you're paying attention to their mannerisms and smell. Yeah, I think that's what...
Also, I think that rounds out that triangle nicely, so...
Yes. Awesome. So mark that on the strings on the character sheet, and everyone else should write that they have a string on Garfield. And while you're filling that out, Manabu.
Well, the first one I think we might want to alter some. I've been talking to a pet or pets of other PCs. I gain either 2 strings on one character or 1 string on 2 characters. But I was thinking, with all the sort of backstabbing gods we have, maybe I've been talking to the gods who don't like other people and getting information on their the other people of the pantheon.
Maybe. I mean, you're saying they're pets though, so I'd be willing to alter it and say you've been talking to their entourages.
Ooh, I like that too. Yeah. And I would say probably, well, with Yukiko, of course, I have to get one string on Inari. And, ooh, I don't think I'm going to take a string on Jupiter, because I don't want to be that prepared. So, Lou, I'll take a. I've got to have talked to, like, at least healed some of the people from those nasty mosh pits.
Yeah. Remember, also, Lauren's character Lucifer is on the table as well.
Yes. I think it will be Lucifer then, because however she turns out, I think the poppy, the sadness in her pop songs draws me to her.
Nice.
And the other one I have is someone has discovered your throne room. They gain 2 strings on you. Hattie had to bring Jupiter in. They partied there once. So Jupiter gains 2 strings on me.
So Jupiter, how much did you trash this mysterious garden in the Pantheon building?
Would you believe you can turn a tree upside down?
I do now.
Well, that's how it is done in certain places.
No, it started one way and it just ended up another. Don't know how that happened.
And
one tree?
Well, Hattie convinced me they were doing the old school Yule festivals when you hang the trees upside down, like in Germany, in the Netherlands.
Awesome. Inari.
So I get a string on each of my foxes. And then you find someone threatening, give them a string on you and take a string on them, which I think, like we talked about, is going to have to be Manabu. So we get strings on each other.
Awesome. Lucifer will do her strings later. So Jupiter.
Ooh, you have a best friend or crush. Give them 2 strings on you. Let's see. I've kind of categorically decided that I don't like everyone on this call. No, all the characters on this call. So, no, I like you all very much. You're all very cool. I think it'll be Lucifer. I kind of already have a semi-best friend with Asteria. So I think I kind of have a crush on her.
You have a crush on Lucifer?
Yeah.
Awesome. Lauren, I know you love that. Love it when that happens. So,
and
all right.
also, well, I have one more. People want to be seen with you. Gain 1 string on every main character.
Yep. So any PCU that comes into the game, you get a string on.
Okay. Well, yeah. So it means the only one other person is Inari. So I already have a string on everyone else.
Yeah, you can get you add strings to them.
Oh yeah.
So like if you have strings on people already, then you just get an extra string on them.
Nice.
Well, awesome. We are at the 2.5 hour mark, which is kind of what I thought would happen. I said to be prepared for these games to actually run between 3 and 3.5 hours. And just be prepared. Like I always ask people to block out more time than that. So we could try to get a little role playing done. I would need to take an extended break to think about how to get things started off, or we can call it early. So this is your time. I'm going to let you make the call. Do we want to push for maybe about 40 minutes, an hour of play, or do people want to call it a night early?
I'd just like to let Sean have some time to get some moshing in, and I'd like to see how all this works out. So I'm down for playing some.
I would not mind that at all. It's not an early work day tomorrow, and it would be great to get a little bit of play in if I'm going to just pop in and out too.
Yeah, I'm kind of out after the third session, so I wouldn't mind as well.
Josh, are you up for it?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Well, then why don't we take about a 10-minute break? I'll post if I need to take 15, just because, I have to figure out what the hell is, what the hell I'm doing. So let's be back here at around 40 after. And in the meantime, here's some Blink 182 reminding you about just how stupid the 90s were. These are actually fun songs, but it's still Blink 182 and exactly what you remember from them. So see you guys back in a bit. I have good and bad news. The bad news, I didn't quite fill out all the gods on the Pantheon tab.
And the good news?
I got through all the PCs. All the PCs in this session. Leandro, did you dress up for this? Or is that just a regular hood?
No, I've always had this hoodie on.
Okay.
I just automatically I don't know why I put this on. That's just automatic. The wrong time period. No.
No. So in Patrick's game, there is a regular player who has a habit of coming back from breaks wearing more and more awesome outfits.
Yeah, I saw that, and I can't do that. That's why I picked Oasis. They don't dress up. I should get a parka next week. There we go. That's a promise.
So, that is not what I wanted. So, everyone's back, rested, ready to go? So, we're starting off, and everyone, the whole Pantheon, when I say the whole Pantheon, I mean the actual gods. Inari, your sister and Foxes didn't actually get an invitation. However, that doesn't necessarily that might not mean much to you. You've all gotten invitations to have a family dinner with Cronus in his home within the Pantheon building.
So now we have to decide how we feel about Cronus.
He is supposed to be in charge and gave you your powers, but also told you you'll be dead in 2 years.
So there may be some ill will there, is what you're saying? Maybe.
Maybe some mixed feelings.
Do you just want us to arrive, or?
Yeah. Let me think of how you would like to arrive in his home within the Pantheon building.
I have to ask, is there any natural ground around it, or I chose the Earth as the Pantheon just because of all the cool underground scenes in Wicked and Divine. And I think Manabu will just form up out of the ground in this room.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to actually form up in his home. When you try to, you feel like you thud and then go out a little bit. And in the middle of the of your park, it's actually in the park that you built in the Pantheon, is a old school brownstone.
Okay. Definitely colors how I feel about Cronus now. So I think Manabu will arrive early because fashionably late just means you're late, not fashionable. And since he got thudded out, he'll go to the welcome mat and knock on the door politely.
Yeah, and Cronus opens the door and he's like, come in, Manabu.
And he'll walk in. You said it's dinner. Were you the cook?
Yes.
Is there a vegetarian option?
Yes, I made some falafel as well.
Good. I'll take that.
Have a seat. He welcomes you in, and there's posters of Cronus used to performing. Oh my god, if someone performed in that outfit now, it would be considered highly offensive. But there's posters of him spewing out liquid and things like that. And when he directs you to the dinner table, you notice that behind every seat is a picture, a black and white picture of someone you don't recognize, but definitely like old school, like back from the 1920s.
Interesting. So we're taking the place of your old fellows.
It has been it has been a very long time since I've had a family.
Oh, you were serious.
Well, yes.
Is this by choice or by appetite?
It's how this works. I had to wait for you to return. Well, you specifically are new, but how things work is complicated. But no, we don't need to talk about this. This should be a joyous evening.
We'll see how it goes.
So who's the next to arrive?
I think I would want to be fairly early as well. And I think I'm going to bring Sebastian and Bruce and just leave them at the door.
But Yukiko is coming with you.
No, I think she'll stay back. I'm not gonna drag her along since she can't come in. That's not polite.
But it's just fine to Sebastian and Bruce.
Yes.
So
in case anyone's wondering, this is what I'm dressed like at the moment.
Nice. So how do you make your entrance?
Does Kronos answer the door, or is it like a servant or something?
If you knock, it will be Kronos answering the door.
Okay. I think I just kind of walk past him somewhat gracefully. Thank you for inviting me, Kronos.
No, absolutely. It's I know you have all been busy with the adjustments, and I've been busy finding your brothers and sisters, but I find that sharing a family meal is important.
I agree. Family is very important. I can't say I honestly understand how we're related, but I appreciate that we have a connection, and so I am here.
Yes. Well, please, let me show you to your seat. And he sits you right next to Manabu.
Hello, sister.
Hello, Manabu.
Oh, no formalities. And I thought I was the one distanced from the family.
I'm not sure I'm ready to call you family.
Well, you can always call on me. I'll answer.
Is that so? I will have to keep that in mind. Although I'm not sure why I would call on you at this point, but we haven't known each other very long.
I think Kronos comes out with a couple of like a bowl of dates and a couple of other small dishes that you can snack on.
And Manabu will look over at Inari, sort of picking at the fruit. Who do you bet will arrive last?
Oh, I think it will be Jupiter for sure. But again, these impressions are just shallow at best at this point.
So who's the next to arrive? By the way, feel free to choose an NPC or one of yourselves. That's fine.
Garfield, Lou, he follows the muddy footprints up to the front door, carrying a box under his arm. He just looks at the two people standing outside, nods at both of them. Evening, like, tests the door handle. It opens, so he steps inside, leaving those two outside on the doorstep, and just puzzled look on his face the whole way through. But he gets inside to where the table is set, and those two are sitting there, and without really saying anything, he just sets the box down on the counter, opens it up, and then like distributes a beer bottle to each of the settings at the table, and then sits down.
Yeah. So you notice behind where you're sitting is this tiny little flapper girl, or a picture of a tiny little flapper girl. And you notice that her necklace has a bit has a big old skull, like that long strain of pearls, but at the very end, a skull.
Do all the other pictures have the same skull, or is it just that was her icon?
It looks like that was her style.
Okay. So yeah, I look around, and like the pictures at the other places, I think, do those two seem a little more congruent? Because I've got a tiny flapper girl behind me.
Oh, let's see. So behind Manabu, looks like it was a young boy in kind of those shorts that young boys wear with like a dress shirt and jacket.
Okay. Yeah.
And like curly hair parted in the center. Yeah. And Inari, oh yeah, Inari totally has old school muscle man in a onesie, holding up the dumbbell, but instead of like circular discs, they're like orbs that say like 200 pounds on each side.
Would you like to trade seats?
I was under the impression we were sat here for a reason, so I think it best if we stay here.
Sure.
Thank you for the beer, by the way.
Are you sure you wouldn't want to trade seats? As he looks over at Lou.
Lou pulls out the chair, sits down, takes a look, and tries to figure out what the dates and everything else are, and just kind of like stabs a few things with a toothpick. And
so Jupiter, is their particular prediction correct? Are you the last to arrive?
Yeah, in fact, I think that she doesn't arrive until like 10 minutes after, or 15 minutes after the dinner has started. But everyone knows it because I think actually she probably just lives like 5-10 minutes away, but she's not going to walk. That's too much work. So what's going to happen is that outside the porch where the other two are, where poor Bruce and Sebastian have been left there, they could probably feel static sort of coalescing around the doorway, and they kind of know at this point, oh shit, we need to run. So they duck away as just this lightning bolt just smashes against the ground, and the thunder of it could be heard by all of Liverpool. This has become horrifically normal occurrence to the city, and out of that light strides out Jupiter. She's got a weather-beaten parka on, and she's got John Lennon glasses on. I don't know what they're actually called. Those kind of
like
sunglasses.
Circular frames.
Yeah. And she just walks in, doesn't wait for anyone to let her in, and walks over to the table. See, probably everyone's eating, or whoever's there. Is everyone in the Pantheon there, or just the three of them?
Oh, no, the rest of the Pantheon was showing up. And in fact, I think you get here while Anansi is in the middle of like telling a story.
Yeah, I think I stride in when he's in the middle of that, and I go to the last suite and just very loudly grab the chair and just like, scratching noises as I pull it outward, and then just gonna sit down and grab the beer, actually the beer that's still there.
Yeah.
And then kind of put my feet up on the table and then point at Nancy, to keep going. because I've arrived now.
Good to see you too, princess.
And she starts drinking and just stops paying attention.
Yeah, so the story Anansi was telling was oh god, I think he totally like was telling the story of effectively the story of 12 years a slave, like the of the guy who was legally freed, went to the north, was kidnapped, brought back to the south, and forced to be a slave again. And of course, Jupiter, you missed the entire point of the story because you're only catching the tail end of it.
I think she's thinking, this is the 90s. That doesn't happen anymore.
But yeah, everyone else heard that super depressing and angry story from Anansi.
I think Manabu, just to sort of, I know we can't read Jupiter's mind, but it's like, yes, the Japanese back in 1910s to about the 1930s would capture Korean people, take them to Japan, and make them work in mines. It's pretty much the same thing, only the skin color is pretty much the same.
You make it sound like that's any better?
Oh, no, it was horrible. It's disgusting and deplorable. It happened. I'm just not going to sweep it under the rug like many of my kinsmen would.
So I think that's when Cronus comes out and he's like, do we need to talk about such bitter memories right now? This is a time for gathering, for connecting with our family. And he's bringing out platters of like lamb and falafel and hummus and tahini and like just dish after dish. He must have been cooking all day long.
This is, really good dinner. Thanks. Yeah, so you know what else this is a time for is probably telling us what the hell is going on, why we're all dragged into this.
Dinner? I mean, as I thought it would be a nice change of pace.
No, I mean the God thing.
Oh. I'm sorry if this is a confusing experience. Though I have only had a limited amount of time to become accustomed to this myself, but effectively the world needs you.
So we're just here for everyone else's pleasure and to fulfill some role in something else with basically no choice in it ourselves.
He kind of looks hurt at the accusation.
Are you saying you wouldn't have wanted to make the world a better place on your own before this happened? And now that you've gotten the power to do so, you're going to bitch about it?
I'm not bitching. I don't know. I'm confused. This is a lot.
It is. And Manabu will look at Kronos like you were explaining.
It's from what I've been able to tell, it's been a reaction to how quickly the world is changing.
Some things are meant to change and some things aren't.
Yes. But you each were chosen because you have you can figure out what you can provide to the world. It's a fleeting thing. It's like inspiration itself.
Okay.
I unfortunately can't provide that anymore.
Well, whatever we do, we're gonna do it big. Can you pass some more of those peas?
Oh, yes, of course.
Thanks. So what's next? I mean, not dessert. I mean, what's next?
Throughout all this time, Jupiter's been eating very loudly in the background. And just, I don't know if you can hear someone rolling their eyes at you, but that's kind of what's happening.
That sounds like a shut someone down. Like, Garfield is trying to get some answers, and you're just like, whatever.
Let's see if kind of. The thing is, if I have something to say if I get provoked. But right now, Jupiter's just kind of like, she's above his complaining, unless he wants to react to that.
Definitely. You have something to say? You're snickering over there.
I just think that sometimes I'm the only one here who read the memo before getting on the whole God train. You're over here you're over there with your phenomenal cosmic powers, and you're complaining that you have them, and you have to look for a reason to have them. Well, newsflash: you have all the agency in the world to find out your own reason. You don't have to listen to Kronos or to anyone else here. All you have to care about is yourself. You're the only one who can give your own reason.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a shut someone down.
Yeah. Do we have a dice room? Or
Yeah, do we? Actually, no, I don't think I created one yet. Let me do that real quick. Here we go in chat. I know I was missing something.
Oh no, I have terrible cold.
I also posted it at the bottom of the character keeper. We are the blatantly closing haddock.
Yeah, so that's a 5.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Good
so
news.
that's
You get experience.
Yay.
So yeah. So yeah, Garfield. Here is Jupiter being completely selfish, uncaring, and dismissive again. How are you just going to take that?
No, with like barely a reaction, there's a half full beer bottle flying across the table, maybe past your head, maybe like right beside it on the wall behind you.
Yeah, that sounds like a move to me.
It's probably a lash out.
Yeah.
Let the record state I'm not aiming at your head.
We'll find out what you're aiming at.
Okay, which dice are me? I guess
It
probably
doesn't
the
matter.
5.
Just highlight whatever dice are there and hit reroll.
You got an 8
An 8?
the last time, I think, or the.
Yeah, it's an 8, and you have a +2.
Okay.
So that's a 10.
All right.
You know what?
By the way, the basic moves are in the moves tab of the character keeper as well.
Okay, so that's with volatile, so that's a 10. I guess I do deal harm. It's written as such. They choke out momentarily before they react.
Oh, I do have a move against that because I don't have any conditions that make me unfashionable. So main characters subtract 1 from rolls to harm me. So it's actually just a 9.
You can spend a string to make it a 10.
Oh, jeez. Oh, you have all those strings on me.
Only 2. No, the MC can decide how bad the harm turns out.
Ah.
I mean, oh yeah, you choose that.
That's the option you choose?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna make this bad. It gets you right in your eye and shatters. Take 2 harm.
Yeah, I think it smashes. Yeah, against the the glasses, and the lens is definitely shattered, and also part of her face, I guess, is quite shattered. You can see her eyes, which I don't know what vinyl eyes means, but it means they're just weird.
Like
it could
records.
either mean like they're like literal records, or it could look like they're from a vinyl doll, or some other interpretation.
Yeah, I think this is more than just being smashed in the face. I kind of want to make this a bit humiliating for Jupiter. I think she gets rocketed back by the force, and she kind of falls off the chair, and she's scrambling up. There's also a bit of food on her and liquids on her. She doesn't look very happy, and she's just like, what did she say? No, I don't think she says anything. I think she's just very loudly just gonna walk away for now, and yeah, storming away, smashing through a few doors. Sure, why not?
Does that might need a runaway roll, because that is a super this is a supercharged situation. Like the whole Pantheon is staring at you, looking at how you're going to react. So like trying to leave, just leave peacefully and make it look like you're not running away might be a little tricky there.
I got a 7. I just rolled there, and I think I'm gonna say I cause a big scene because, or no, that's not as interesting because I'm already kind of causing a big scene just by leaving. So I'll say I leave something behind.
Okay. Yeah. So as you're leaving, yeah, you're Anansi. It would totally be Anansi. Is totally going to be calling after, like very loudly saying so that you can specifically hear. Yeah. The bitch has got nothing behind her. First sign of trouble, she just rolls right over, and basically you're going to have to leave your dignity behind.
Is that a condition? Or
No,
okay.
Because it doesn't say a condition, but you are like
vulnerable.
You are not. You are not saving face at all.
That makes sense.
Garfield just drags his chair back in towards the table. Sorry. Reaches across, takes your beer, puts it in front of him. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think Ball is like, was that really called for?
What, the making fun of me part? The
It's quite an escalation to go from her being just nasty to you throwing a beer bottle.
Lack of respect has consequences. I think Inari kind of looks at Garfield and then looks back at Ball.
Is that what we are now? Just give up on civility and become a bunch of brutes at our earliest impulse? Says the god who's known for child sacrifice.
No, I wasn't just throwing a bottle at her because of that. It was just the selfish bullshit that came with whatever it was that she was saying. Shouldn't have thrown the bottle. You're right. But fucked if I'm gonna pay her any ear if she's gonna be telling us that we should just care about ourselves.
Manabu will look at Inari kind of coyly. It's like, feels like family now, doesn't it?
Yeah, family comes with the best and the worst. I have to admit this, Manabu.
So Kronos is very happily eating his meal with you, as if this whole event did not bother him.
Yeah, Manabu will like. It's more even with the vegetarian stuff. Is just toying with it more. And I think like he sort of keeps a vegetarian diet while Shub Nagorath wants meat badly. And he'll look over at Kronos like, you don't seem vexed by this at all. Did this happen a lot with the old family?
Families bicker. These things happen. Eventually, eventually family forgives each other.
You must
I
have
mean,
had a good relationship with yours then. I'd never forgive my parents.
I think he puts down the falafel that he was eating. Family is not always easy. Divinity is not always easy. Yes, fights happen, but in the wake of what you can do, a little bit of glass is such a minor thing. And he waves his hand, and the whole mess from the spilled beer and the glass reforms. It actually, like the beer bottle, reforms with the beer back in it. You are all still young, but sometimes it's still easy for you to forget what a grand perspective the world is now in for you.
I know. Having to choose between Betamax or VHS. Such trials we face. I kid, of course. But I worry for Jupiter. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the entertainment. But I shall be off chasing her to see if she's okay. A little bit of glass may not hurt us for long, but it didn't look very fun.
So yeah, Manabu goes heading off.
Kronos, having been where we are, do you have any advice, any pitfalls to avoid, that sort of thing? What is your role? Are you here to just watch us?
That is a part that I still haven't figured out myself. I was back before I was one of the Pantheon. We came into being spontaneously, and I had to watch my 12 friends die. It may have seemed like a lot of time, but I'm still searching for meaning in it. I will be sad to watch my new friends die, but that is the role I must play.
You ever thought if there's a way to change it? What if we don't kill each other? I mean, not that I'm off to a great start or anything.
Not all of my brothers and sisters died by each other's hands.
But they're all dead nonetheless. Well, time to figure out what we're going to do with 1 year, 364 days, right?
And on that note, let's catch up to Jupiter. Jupiter, where were you heading?
I think I'm headed to not a venue, but it's kind of like a large sort of pub in Liverpool that it's kind of like a place she just chose to decide, all right, no, I need to feel better with myself. I'm going to deign these people with a performance and make myself feel better. And while she's walking, that's how angry she is. She doesn't even like thunderbolt her way there. She's just walking. She take out her ruined glasses and pulls out an extra pair that she has in her jacket.
Is she still bleeding when she just walks into the pub?
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like it's not I guess it's kind of a miracle if I snap my fingers and just like a noise of thunder occurs just to get everyone's attention.
Yeah, I'm not going to make you do a miracle move for that. So
yeah,
but yeah, you can describe how this looks however you want.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's a fairly nice pub in that it's kind of like 3 stories, but there's like lots of open space so everyone can see. Like there's a stage where people can perform, and maybe there's a band that was about to tune up, and people are having dinner and just chatting, and maybe some people watching the match or whatever. And then Jupiter comes in, snaps fingers, thunder, and she just walks up to the stage and kind of kicks the mic stand away as if to say to the other band, yeah, no, fuck off. This is my stage now. And she just starts performing without even like asking without even telling like what's going to happen. No, she's just going to start making a lot of noise.
Okay. Well, think of what your message is and go ahead and roll dark.
Yeah, so I think let's hope the dice are nice to me this time. No, they're not. Why? That's incredibly horrible.
Hey, the good news is you get experience off of this.
For fuck's sake.
But what was your message to this random, unexpected crowd?
I think the message is leave all your worries behind while I take you away from them, because what Jupiter's performance is just a loud wall of sound, but it's not a considered layered wall of sound. It's just basically how many overdubs can we do in like 3-minute song, and It's loud and swampy and kind of lazy and very arrogant.
Okay. So Manabu, you get here when this crowd is after the performance, when the crowd is rushing Jupiter, asking, like, demanding that she takes care of all their problems. Like, I'm behind on my rent. Pay it for me. Shoulder is has been hurting for months, and I don't want to do my physical therapy. Heal it for me. And just, it's this wall of demands on Jupiter.
And I think I'm going to work a miracle. He knows this is definitely what Jupiter would not want. She wants worship. She wants adulation, and he feels like she deserves it tonight. And it's just 1, 2, 3. And everyone realizes if they're going to get something from a goddess, they must offer up their most valuable possessions to her. Which, in her case, is probably a lot of drugs and emotional leverage.
A lot of promises of children are given.
Oh, it warped my fecundity.
But you should also choose 2 of those options. That maybe should have been a give a performance, but we're pretty close to time, so this is a good way of just wrapping it up quicker.
Yeah, I think the Shubs takes over for a while.
Oh.
And it takes on a life of its own.
Oh.
And you see Manabu, like, green eyes, like the pupils just flatten out like a goat's eye.
Jupiter's trying to keep her face impassive, but at least 40% of her is like, well, thank God he took all the heat, and the 60%, other 60% is like, he took all my heat. What the fuck? But she's standing to the side, and she'll watch you do your thing.
I'm just going to make a note because I'm going to call that a cliffhanger because nothing can go wrong there. Well, awesome.
I can't believe the crowd preferred their gothic synthwave to my, loud British guitar pub rock.
Oh no, they're still demanding the miracles from you.
Oh right, yeah. Oh yeah. So they did really love it.
I
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked a miracle. I didn't perform. I didn't want to.
It probably should have been a performance, but like I said, this gets us to the conclusion faster. Plus, Shub's taking over is going to be frightening. I'm going to have to read up more on him, but it's a Lovecraftian deity, which is not going to be good.
I have a few YouTube videos I'll send you.
So, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast, and then we can do, debrief, talk about the session, do some wishes and stars, and, I know wasn't necessarily the most hitting home of sessions after the character creation, but it's, it was a little bit of play after session 0, so I think we have a good foundation of where people are coming from, and next week we are going to kind of, rather than do like a general gathering to get you guys to all interacting with each other, that's a good way of just kind of feeling out characters. We're going to pursue some of the things that you actually want to pursue. Like, Shub's eating a bunch of faces. I'm assuming. All right. Well, thanks anyone who's been watching, and we'll see you again next week.